Welcome back to Plugged In, the Odgers Berndtson series, where we hear the insights and opinions of leaders and innovators in the gaming industry. And I am delighted to be joined by María Sayans, ustwo Games CEO. And I'm back with María to ask her my second question of the day, which is, what is your view on the effect of subscription models on the industry, the good, the bad, and the ugly? And it's interesting because the first question that I asked María earlier today kind of led us to this point where she talked about worrying about the lack of innovation in the industry and discoverability. So over to you, María.
Yeah, and so by subscriptions, I imagine you're asking about cross-title subscriptions of the likes of the Apple Arcade or PlayStation, etc.
Games Pass, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, not because subscriptions have been part of the industry for many, many, many years. Or MMOs having subscriptions, a lot of models that are similar to that in the mobile space under the kind of battle pass kind of model. But these cross-title subscriptions, so ultimately, I think they're a good thing for the industry because they are a good thing for consumers. And if they're a good thing for consumers, they're going to be a good thing for the industry, and we just need to adapt to it. But having said that, it's going to require a lot of adaptation, and there are things that in the current incarnation of these models are not great, which we need to address. But so first of all, why do I think it's good? I think it's good for consumers because it's good value for money.
Yeah.
And I think that it's also good because it, in connection to what I was saying earlier, consumers are a little bit, because of this overwhelming availability of content that is so difficult to navigate, they in the absence of that, they tend to become a little bit conservative and go back to what they know and go back to the franchises they know and the genres they know, and take few risks. However, in the context of a subscription, and Microsoft has proven this, has shared data that really proves this, consumers are more risk takers and they will sample things out, and they will try out things that are outside of their normal genre. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing for players. It's a good thing for developers. It's a good thing for the ecosystem as well. I think that's it's also good for companies of our size, companies like ours, that can, in a way, we've been able, as ustwo Games, we've made 2 games for Apple Arcade. Yeah. And it's been a fantastic partnership for us because it's really allowed us to continue to make the games that we love to make and that we want to make, under a structure that is, financially secure and rewarding, for us. And we've been able to retain our IP, which is really important for us. And so for all those reasons, I think there are many studios that are really benefiting from this kind of model. Yeah. They're able to get great, innovative, risk-taking games made, and reach new audiences, retain their IP, and use that as a basis to continue to grow. So I think there's definitely quite a lot of positives. I think that when it comes to the negatives, the main challenge that I see is that it creates a barrier between the creator and the consumer. Now, when I came into the industry about 20 years ago, I had been doing CRM systems for banks, right? That's how
exciting things, María.
exciting times. But the angle and the hook that brought me to games 20 years ago was that we were on the cusp of establishing direct relationships with our consumers. At the time, we had been selling discs at stores. And so we knew, or some people could see at that point, that establishing a direct relationship with consumers was going to unlock great innovation and growth in the games industry, and that we needed to do that. And so that's kind of what I've been working on, and I have been working on my first 10 years in the industry, building direct relationships with consumers. And what happens when you have that, when you have access to be able to communicate, to be able to customize, to be able to use data to inform your development. And that has been transformational for the industry. When you get into a subscription model, very often what happens is that you get cut off from a lot of that data, from a lot of that communication and direct access to consumers, from the ability to create communities. And
it's the community element. The ownership shifts, doesn't it?
Yes, and that's a step back. That potentially is a step back, and potentially something that prevents the kind of innovation, the kind of customization, and the kind of quality that we have relied on having a direct relationship with players to be able to develop in the industry. So I think that's one of the things that's wrong with the current incarnation of subscription models. Okay. I think the other challenge is that, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the industry is going towards is in a game as a service model, and the big IPs are in a game as a service model. And it's almost like the only way to build a long-term successful mainstream game. Now, it's really difficult, if not impossible, to build a game as a service at scale within a subscription service, because the financial incentives are just not aligned that way. So unless that changes, what you're going to have is a split of the industry, of like the behemoths that have direct access to consumers and that are able to have these games service models directly with consumers, and then smaller games that do not build a full-on live service component because they're not really incentivized to do so under a subscription. And I think that will mean that subscriptions do not really live up to their potential. So that's another thing that I think that needs to change for those services to really live up to their potential. I think that's kind of my whole thing. Overall, I mean, I think that they are a good thing that we just need to address.
Managed carefully. Yeah,
manage carefully, address these, I would say, poor designs today. But ultimately, I don't think subscriptions are going to be the dominant way in which people consume games, but they're going to be a very important way in which people consume games.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your thoughts today, Maria. Loved having you on the show today, and we'll look forward to catching up soon. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It was brilliant.